How to become a polyglot fast? I often get this question from language enthusiasts at almost every event I speak at. As a professor of cross-cultural management and as someone who published a memoir called A Life in 30 Languages. So in this video, I will share with you the strategy for English speakers, native and even non-native speakers who have learned English well, how to reach 10 languages in the fastest and most effective way. I strongly believe with the right attitude and dedication, this can be achieved in just 3 or 4 years. But before we dive into how to achieve this significant goal, I want to emphasize that learning languages should be a beautiful journey to be enjoyed. It is not a race to see who can learn the most languages well in the shortest amount of time. Nevertheless, considering the fastest and most effective way to expand the number of languages in which you can communicate is certainly worthwhile. First of all, what is a polyglot? Let's check the dictionary for this term. So a polyglot is someone who can speak or use several different languages. However, there's often a debate about what level of proficiency and how many languages are required to truly be considered a polyglot. Some say it's enough to have conversational ability in several languages, while others argue for a higher level of fluency. Typically, being a polyglot means being proficient in at least 3 or 4 languages. So learning 10 languages will certainly make you a polyglot. Now let's get into the strategy. The best way to maximize the leverage you get from learning new languages is to choose 9 target languages that have similar vocabulary and grammatical structures. This strategy leverages the inherent similarities among languages within the same family, making the learning process more efficient and manageable. Start with the Romance languages. Given that English has a significant amount of influence from Romance languages, starting with the 6 West Romance languages can be very effective. These languages share similar vocabulary and grammatical structures, making them easier to learn together. We focus on West Romance languages because the existing East Romance language, Romanian, is more challenging due to its unique features and influences from Slavic languages. According to the Foreign Service Institute, FSI, 4 of the following 6 Romance languages are classified as Category 1 languages, meaning they require about 600 to 750 hours of study to achieve proficiency. Start with Spanish. It is widely spoken and relatively easy for English speakers to learn due to its straightforward pronunciation and grammar.
Ha pasado ya la medianoche aquí en Berlín y todos los colegios electorales de la Unión Europea cerraron ya. Los primeros resultados del escrutinio indican que el Parlamento Europeo ha dado un giro a la derecha. El Partido Popular Europeo de centro-derecha seguirá siendo el mayor grupo parlamentario. Se trata del grupo parlamentario de Ursula von der Leyen.
Once you have the foundation in Spanish, Portuguese will come easier due to the shared Latin roots and similar grammatical structures.
Oi pessoal, neste vídeo eu vou falar um pouco sobre a história da cidade de São Paulo e lhes mostrar alguns lugares históricos nesta cidade. Vem comigo! A região onde hoje se encontra São Paulo, assim como o restante do Brasil e das Américas, era originalmente habitada por indígenas.
French shares many cognates with English and other Romance languages, although its pronunciation is unique.
La participation de 2019 qui était de 50,1% en France, qui avait connu un rebond après régulière quand même baisse de participation depuis 79, même si en 94 on avait franchi les 50% aussi. Donc moi je serais vraiment pas étonné. Peut-être on l'analysera tout à l'heure, mais pourquoi cette hausse de participation?
Italian, like Spanish and Portuguese, has many cognates and similar verb conjugations, making it another logical step.
Che ha esortato ancora una volta a non dimenticare la martoriata Ucraina, ma anche Palestina, Israele, Myanmar e i tanti paesi che sono in guerra. Cristiana Caricato.
La martoriata e amata Ucraina e poi Palestina, Israele, Myanmar. Tra meno di 48 ore la partecipazione a Borgo e Ignazia in Puglia al G7 per parlare di intelligenza artificiale, ma anche per incontrare i potenti della terra.
Spoken in Catalonia, Spain, Catalan is closely related to both Spanish and French, sharing many linguistic features. While not specifically categorized by the FSI, it would likely fall into Category 1 languages due to its similarities with Spanish and French.
La Carla és estudiant del grau de Tecnologia i Gestió Alimentària de la Universitat de Vic. Participa en el programa de beques Sí, Estudio i Treballo que la universitat va posar en marxa al setembre. Això li permet combinar els estudis de grau amb pràctiques remunerades en una empresa del sector.
Perquè des del primer dia pot començar a treballar o pot estar vinculat amb una feina que serà...
And finally, Galician. This language spoken in the Galicia region of Spain is very similar to Portuguese, allowing you to quickly grasp its basics if you already know Portuguese. Like Catalan, it's not specifically categorized, but it would likely be considered a Category 1 language.
La grasa que lle queiras meter ao corpo. O es que están aumentando moito os casos de parvovirus. Eu entereime, porque non o sabía, que o parvovirus é a famosa lavazada galega.
Tal cual.
Non tiña nin idea.
Ese neno que pola mañá un día aparece cas fázulas todas vermellas. Pero ollo, porque incluso estos días me chamaba unha persoa que me dicía que a súa filla...
Now let's take a quick look at the Romance language cognates. This chart illustrates patterns of cognates across the Romance languages on our list, focusing on common suffixes. By comparing these suffixes in these 6 languages plus English, you can see how similar these languages are, which can significantly simplify the process of learning multiple languages within the same family. This chart is just a small sample of the thousands of cognates that usually differ only in terms of their suffixes. Now let's consider Romance language verb conjugations. This chart illustrates the present tense conjugations of the verb to think in these 6 Romance languages, including the corresponding pronouns. Recognizing patterns and similarities in verb conjugation can also greatly aid in learning multiple languages within the same family. Now let's continue the journey with Germanic languages. Since English is a Germanic language, adding 3 Germanic languages will leverage your existing knowledge. As a Germanic language, German has similarities with English, particularly in vocabulary and syntax. However, it is classified as a Category 2 language by the FSI, requiring about 750 to 900 hours to learn due to its complex grammar.
Was passiert, wenn uns der Umgang mit Sprache schwerfällt, Alltägliches nicht selbstverständlich ist, wenn die Buchstaben schnell durcheinanderwirbeln, weil man Lern- oder Konzentrationsprobleme hat?
Die verstehen das nicht und dann sind sie ausgeschlossen und können nicht mitmachen.
Denn Sprache begleitet uns überall. Sie ermöglicht uns am Alltag teilzuhaben, ihn zu bewältigen.
Once you know German, Dutch will be easier, as it shares many grammatical structures and vocabulary with both English and German. Dutch is a Category 1 language.
In Nederland, de minister-president Mark Rutte's partij is bij de meeste zetels in het parlement na de verkiezingen van gisteren te krijgen. Ondanks een stijging van 2 zetels hadden gelijk-politicus Geert Wilders' partij voor de vrijheid niet het resultaat dat hij had gehoopt.
Finally, Afrikaans, a derivative of Dutch. Afrikaans simplifies many of the grammatical complexities of Dutch, making it a straightforward addition. Afrikaans is also a Category 1 language.
Afrikaans word elke jaar in Augustus op internasionale en Afrikaanse taaldag gevier. Afrikaans is die taal waarin ek verstaan, leef en dink.
En hierdie vermoë van ons om taal te gebruik het oor 'n baie lang tyd ontwikkel.
Next, let's consider the cognates in these Germanic languages. There are systematic patterns and rules that can help you identify the cognates among these languages. These patterns often involve predictable sound shifts and spelling changes that occurred during the historical development of these languages. Here is a brief overview of some common patterns. The initial F in English often corresponds to V in German, Dutch, and Afrikaans, but pronounced more like an F. The initial TH in English often corresponds to D in German, Dutch, and Afrikaans. P in English often corresponds to PF in German and remains P in Dutch and Afrikaans. K in English often corresponds to CH in German and remains K in Dutch and Afrikaans. D in English often corresponds to T in German, Dutch, and Afrikaans. One effective strategy for becoming a polyglot while studying languages in the same family is using a language you already have mastered within this family to study another one. This approach can help you recognize and understand the similarities and differences between the languages, which is crucial for avoiding confusion and mixing them up. Studying a new language through the lens of a similar, mastered language reinforces your existing knowledge and deepens your understanding of both languages. You can easily identify patterns in grammar, vocabulary, and syntax. This pattern recognition can accelerate your learning process. Focusing on the differences between similar languages helps you avoid common pitfalls, such as confusing words and grammatical structures. Learning through comparison makes it easier to remember new information by anchoring it to what you already know. This method provides practical applications and context for both languages, enhancing your fluency and comprehension. Find resources that offer explanations and examples in both your mastered language and the target language. These can include bilingual dictionaries, textbooks, and language learning apps. For me, I like using the Ling app so I can practice a new foreign language in a language that I already know well. For example, I review and learn more Czech by setting Czech as a target language and Polish as a language of instruction.
Snídaně. Já snídám se svou sestrou. Oběd. On obědvá se svými přáteli.
Compare grammar rules. Create side-by-side comparisons of grammar rules, such as verb conjugations, sentence structures, and uses of articles. This helps in understanding the nuances of each language. Read texts that are available in both languages. This could be literature, news articles, or online content. Pay attention to how sentences are constructed and how vocabulary is used differently. Engage in language exchange with speakers of the target language who also know the language you have mastered. This allows you to discuss and clarify similarities and differences. Write essays, journal entries, and even social media posts in the target language, using your mastered language as a reference. This reinforces your learning and helps you practice translation skills. And if you're interested in how I actually learn multiple languages at the same time, please have a look at this video. Thank you for listening and see you in the next one.